Hello everyone, welcome to today's episode of Just Ask by the Diversity Standards Collective. I'm your host Rich, my pronouns are he, him, and I'm joined by the wonderful Laura today, and I'll pass it over to you to introduce yourself.
Hello, I'm Laura, I'm 31 years old and I am under the pronouns of she/her.
Perfect. And today's question is, why be bald on Bumble? And I said it, we haven't been practicing for so long and actually did it, there we are.
Amazing, we love a bit of alliteration.
So first off, tell me a bit about being on Bumble and being bald on it.
I figured, why hide this element of myself, the fact that I'm a bald woman, and I have been since I was 13 years old. For many years, I think, thinking as a bald woman I was probably less desirable, and I figured, let's just, sort out, what's that phrase, sort out the wheat from the chaff, or whatever the phrase? You don't know the phrase.
No, I don't know. I was going to think like from the chocolate from the drops or something, that's a new one.
Sure. So if I've got a mix, so I've got a blonde wig on there, a red wig on there, and then I've got a couple of bald photos, because that is how I present every day. I mix it up. So I think it's good to get it out there, because I'm not ashamed of being bald anymore. So I think now I'm single and dating again, I think it's really important to put it out there.
Yeah, exactly. And I think, working in the space that we do, having a visible difference or disability or any other part of your identity can always be perceived as a negative or something you want to hide. So it's like really brave of you, so well done. Not well done, that sounds terrible. Please cut that out.
I'm not brave. I'm brave for being on Bumble full friggin' stop, because it's brutal.
Yeah.
But I think it would be brutal regardless of if I was a bald woman or not. I think dating is just brutal.
Dating is brutal, and a lot of my friends have come off it.
Okay.
Because it's just a horrible, horrible place.
Yeah, well, you know what? I'm late to the party, and I'd like to think maybe one day I'll just meet someone in person, and it will be when I'm just doing my thing, being bald, because I'm still on my confidence journey to try and just exist in this world as a happy, healthy bald woman. So, that's the hope.
Amazing. Well, let's talk about invisible difference. Let's talk about alopecia. Can I give us a bit of a background of you said it came on when you were 13, etc.
Yes. So it's an autoimmune condition, which basically means my body decided to attack my own hair follicles. It was like I had the flu. It thought my hair follicles were bad, so it started in little patches, and it was my hairdresser that found it when I was 13. The doctor said it was probably something called alopecia. My parents were going through a really messy divorce at the time, it was really stressful at home. So alopecia can be triggered by stress, but I also have eczema and asthma, which are autoimmune conditions. So I was more likely to get alopecia, but you were saying someone with alopecia. It's so common, hair loss in some form or another, whether it be alopecia, hormonal, postpartum. And I think the reason now, at the grand old age of 31, I want to talk about it a bit more is because, like you said, that shame that comes with being a woman without hair. So, But having a visible difference, something that makes you stand out or isn't the norm, it does impact how people perceive you. It impacts how, easy it is to do life, going for job interviews, whether you choose to present or disguise your visible difference. All these things impact, both consciously and unconsciously, how people perceive you. So that is something that I'm really interested in understanding more, and also just battling those stereotypes, which obviously is why it's great to be talking to you.
Yeah, one of the good questions is what is people's normal reaction? How do people? Is there a couple of different ways people react? What? And we'll go into how boys react afterwards. But boys and girls or girls. What's people's normal reaction then?
People assume that I'm going through chemotherapy a lot of the time. I've had, I did my first ever spa weekend about a year ago, and a woman swam up to me, my first ever time being bald in a public swimming pool. So it's still really quite new. And she was like, oh, how long have you had the big C? I had my treatment last year. And it's that awkward thing of, she wants the community, so she's come over to talk to me, to kind of bond with me, to share experiences, and I have to be like, no, I don't have cancer, I just have alopecia, I'm perfectly healthy, I just don't have any hair. And it's almost like I feel I have to apologise.
I'm sorry.
I'm just bald. Me being bald shouldn't impact your life. If you're curious, fair enough. If we're friends, or if we've got to a point where you want to ask that, I'd like to think like if I want to bring it up, I should be able to bring it up. And that's the thing, when I choose not to wear a wig, I feel like I am putting it out there, so people might ask me, but why would we do that? I do find it weird. You know, we've talked about some other scenarios in the difference or disability or trans community or lots of things where people ask very personal questions. In what other scenario? Like, you're healthy, you've got hair, you know, all these things that people make assumptions. I don't feel the need to ask you about your private health.
No, it's funny because if I'm in a situation and it comes up that I'm queer or whatever, that people's demeanour switches and they'll then start asking questions about my sex life or about sexuality because of this curiosity that people seem to lose the respect of just like, I don't know this person very well, so I'm not going to ask this question. But suddenly I'm being asked if I'm who's the man and the woman in the relationship, all these questions that come really personal, and I think from some of our trans friends, they say the same thing about them, people are just interested about what's happening, and you're like, well actually, you wouldn't ask that from someone you don't really know, so why, just because, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Okay, cool, well what I'd love to end this with is sort of like your advice. So this is, the topic of today is just asking about dating. What's your advice to people dating who may have hair loss or alopecia or any other forms of that? And then what's your advice to the person who's dating a person as well?
Okay, so do whatever feels best for you. There's no right or wrong way to own who you are, but the best way to be, I am learning and still learning this, is you set the tone of if you want to talk about that thing or how that conversation goes. If I talk about my alopecia with confidence, people can't respond awkwardly because I'm setting the tone. And I think that's far easier. You just don't apologise ever for your visible difference. And that is something, like, I've answered the door to people before and been like, oh sorry, I have alopecia. What's that? They came to my house. It doesn't make any sense. And I think for someone dating someone with a visible difference, I mean, it's just like, whatever. Like, I'm not going to say well done because, you should be so flippin' lucky because we're going to make stereotypes, which I know we don't want to do here. But, if you're a person that has had to live through life with a visible difference of any kind or any disability, you've probably had to endure society making you feel other and making you feel less than. And because of that, you're going to be witty as shit, you're going to be resilient, you're going to be empathetic, and you know what, you're probably going to be an awesome person. I mean, don't get me wrong, everyone has the potential to be a knobhead, but
they do.
Sorry for swearing so much all of a sudden, but whether you have a disability or a visible difference, you're still going to be who you are, and you should never apologise for who you are, especially when dating.
No, exactly. And when dating, find someone who doesn't want you to apologise and gives you reinforcement that you're as beautiful.
Exactly.
As you are,
the best thing that has happened for me in my last 2 serious relationships, even if they are, hit the
even if one has gone.
Or whatever, but they're both gone.
Once of them going again,
is that it's true intimacy when I didn't even think about the fact that I was bald around the house and the stroking of my head. I know that sounds weird. I know that's an overshare, but we all have those things, those special things that no one else like. I don't like it when someone feels the need to come up and stroke my bald head, which, believe me,
does that happen?
my God. Well, there's a video coming out next year with someone and they did that. I'll tell you about that afterwards. But, it's like, people are curious and strange sometimes, especially when drunk. I think people think.
Oh, right,
I have people like, oh, it's so smooth. Oh, I could do this all day. And I'm like, don't.
I moisturise, but don't touch it. Do you know what I mean?
Get your greasy paws on it. I don't want people to fetishise my difference. But it's great when you're in a loving, comfortable relationship and they love every part of you, and that thing that has held so much anxiety is suddenly the thing that you love them showing affection to. So that's really good.
No, amazing. Well, thank you very much for joining us today. It's been a lovely conversation.
Thank you.
I'm so excited about hearing about your date. I need a text about how it goes tonight. Is he right? Is he more than an hour long? Or are we going on a date? Maybe it's me the whole time.
Spoiler!
No, amazing. And thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.